President Trump just gave what I think is one of the most emotional, heartfelt, interesting, wildly brand new. I've never heard him talk about Butler this way. I've never heard him say something so profound about his relationship with the Almighty, as well as, of course, like he always does in his vintage way, he said something hilarious as well that I never heard him say before, because today is July 13th. It's the 2-year anniversary of what I'm calling one of the worst days in American history. We almost lost literally the only guy by, I think, I don't know, by some measures, there were some accounts, it was like literally 1/18th of a millimeter, centimeter of an inch or whatever, that if he just turned his head slightly this way or that way, it would have been all over. We wouldn't have one of the greatest presidents of my lifetime. And so I'm going to play for you President Trump talking about that moment in just a second. But first, I just want to share. He also says a lot more, too. He talks about Iran. He talks about a very interesting conversation he had with Spencer Pratt about the LA election. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss that. So I got a lot to play for you. He talked about a lot today. But first, check out this clip and watch my reaction. Because it's interesting, because I watched the playback earlier and I was like, wow, I really was stupefied. I was stunned. I don't even think I was making sense. I was talking gibberish. And when I remember being live when that happened, most of you guys, some of you were there with me, especially my mods who've been with me forever, and channel members. You know what that moment was like. I mean, a day that will forever live in infamy. But when I was watching it earlier today, I was watching the playback of our live stream. It's still on our channel, by the way, and I'll play it right now. I couldn't believe the utter terror and shock in my voice. You could hear it in my voice. Here's the clip right here. Check this
right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people.
Awful.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened. Oh. Get down.
What the hell was that? What the hell was that? What the hell was that? What the hell just happened?
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Move. Go.
Was he hit?
Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stand. Get ready. You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move?
We're clear.
Let's move. We're clear.
You can't be serious. I'm like having a heart attack right now.
Let me get my shoes.
Did he get hit?
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the class. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. Get the shoe.
Watch out.
Wait.
Oh, look how badass he is. Where did he get hit? Did he get hit? His ear's bleeding. Oh my God, what just happened? Well, I got to tell you, it's even hard for me to watch that. I get so emotional. It was just absolutely insane. And we still don't know anything about this guy, Matthew Thomas Crooks. We still don't have any clue about, where was the breach in security? Why did this actually happen? How was he allowed on the roof? How was he allowed to get into an area like that? Anyway, I won't jump into it because I've done a lot of videos analyzing what happened in Butler. I'm sure most of you have seen it, but here is President Trump. Listen to this powerful moment where he talks about it today on the 2-year anniversary. It's amazing. Watch this.
After that, I mean, I got lucky. God was watching. There's one, Ainsley, God was watching because, you know, my son Don and Eric, both of them, they know a lot about guns. They hunt. They like to hunt. And they said from that distance, with that gun, that particular gun, there's almost no chance of missing. They considered it something maybe easier than a 2-foot putt. To put it in golf terms, they said that's from that distance with that gun. It's like, Dad, it's like sinking a 2-foot putt, which is hard to, for those non-golfers, a 2-foot putt is almost automatic. I wouldn't say automatic for some people, it's not, but it's almost automatic. And so, you know, God was with me. I turned my head to show a chart, and a chart that I never show on the right-hand side, but this time I did, and a chart that I don't even use that much. I use it probably 1 in 10 times at the rallies. But it's always on my left, and this time it was on my right. I looked to the right. Instead, if I looked to the left, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So many amazing things. And the chart is always at the end of the speech. And I just put it at the beginning because it was appropriate. You know, sometimes I'll start out, and I won't be reading a lot of things because it makes it much more interesting. I think that's why people like it. But I just said I'm going to put it up there. It just felt good. Yeah. It felt right. You know, I speak the way I feel. And it felt right. And the chart, I said, let's talk about the chart. And I look over to the right as it's coming down. And I said, wow, what was that?
Wow.
I said, it's either the biggest, most violent mosquito in history or I just got shot. It was one of the two things because I touched my ear. There was blood all over my ear. As soon as I touched it, this wasn't like a slow bleed. I touched it. You saw, I mean, the picture's a very famous one. And I'm going down. And I said to myself, and sort of, I guess it's much as you can joke about something like this, but
well, Mr. President,
that's either the most violent mosquito in history or I got shot.
Wow, just absolutely incredible. I mean, he never ceases to amaze me. His amazing resilience, his unflappableness. There's just no getting to him. He just has the perfect leadership. He is the quintessential leader who understands that perspective always trumps the moment of insanity. We're all going to be faced with moments of pain, misery, depression, anxiety, problems, but he always seems able to put perspective above that, which perspective, when you put anything in perspective, your problems turn into microcosms. And it's just so amazing to me that he seems to do that time and time again. He's got a domestic terrorist group in the Democrats, aka the communists now, against him. He's got an entire media apparatus in the corporate press. Plus, he's got the IRGC. Plus, he's got enemies all over. They're just looking to destroy him at every turn. And he somehow still manages to say, no, I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm going to govern and lead to the best of my ability and get stuff done. Speaking of terrorists, this is what President Trump had to say about, you know, basically Operation Epic Fury and the ceasefire with Iran is over. There's no deal on the table, over. And President Trump talked about that. Check this out today.
But we had a deal. What nobody knows, we had a deal. It was a done deal. And then they broke it. They always break it. We've had 10 deals with these people. And so we're just going to hit them very hard. And we're going to keep the strait, and we'll probably run it. We'll become the guardian of the strait. Maybe we'll call it the guardian angel of the strait. And we should be reimbursed for that. When we do that, we're going to be reimbursed because the other nations are very wealthy. They're on our side. And we can't be expected to do that for nothing, unlike we had for many years. You know, we guarded the strait for 50 years more, and we never got paid for it. They made all the money, and the United States was just, you know, not, they wouldn't, it's amazing. It's, we never made, we guarded it for nothing. And now we're going to guard it, and we're going to get paid for guarding it, a lot of money. But we just want to be reimbursed for doing all of this, for putting our people in danger. But we're really not putting people, we're really saving people. Remember this, they killed 52,000 protesters so far. As of this moment, the number is 52,000. So who's going to protest? And a lot of people are surprised about the protesting, you know, that they haven't. But nobody's going to protest when they get shot. They have AK-47s, they have machine guns. aimed at people's heads. If you move 1 foot further, you get shot, and then they'll shoot 10 of them, and everybody flees. Who's not going to flee? They don't have guns.
Right.
So they're a bad group of people. Let me just tell you that. I don't say that often, and I have to live with that statement. They're a bad group of people. They've been this way for a long time, and right now they're getting their ass kicked. And
it's impossible not to love this guy. We've been doing so much, especially on the global stage, especially internationally, for free, for nothing. We finally got a guy who's a builder, an entrepreneur, somebody who actually competed, earned his medal in the free market, free enterprise system. And he's like, what the hell are we doing here? Why are we not benefiting, profiting from this? Why are we just giving away all of our natural resources, all of our energy, our effort, our output for absolutely diddly squat in return? It's just amazing to me. This is not getting mentioned anywhere. Here's President Trump talking about the Strait of Hormuz and a whole lot more. Check this out.
President, Lindsey Graham was definitely on your side when it comes to Iran and the threat, them not having a nuclear weapon. It looks like they're back at their business trying to take over the Strait. What's your response?
Well, we're taking over the Strait. They have nothing. They've got nothing. So something that nobody knows, yesterday they had an 11-hour meeting. Everything's 11 hours with these guys. You know, you can't settle a one sentence in 1 hour, in 1 minute. It should be 1 minute. And everything was agreed to yesterday. And they leave the room, and they call back, and they say, we had to make a couple of changes. I said, changes? They got to make changes? We're not going to make changes. Always changes. They just, they're professional negotiators. That's all they are. I don't even call them good at it. They haven't gotten anything. They got nothing from me. But if you look, for 47 years, they've been tapping people along, presidents. Every president got tapped along, didn't do anything, and they became more and more powerful. This should have been done 47 years ago. Shouldn't have been allowed to start. But Clinton let him go, and Bush let him go. Everybody let him go, and Obama was the worst of all, because Obama actually went to their side. Obama, because, he's let's not say. Let's leave that for another time. He was terrible. And he allowed Iran to, but he gave them $1.7 billion in cash, in green cash, put in satchels in an airplane and brought to Iran. $1.7 billion. Do you know what that is? Did you ever see $1 million in cash? This is $1.7 billion. It took up an entire Boeing 757, and they flew it to Tehran, and they gave it to people that were waiting at a plane. Can you imagine these people? They never saw money, and now all of a sudden they've got $1.7 billion in cash, and he gave them hundreds of billions of dollars in cash and everything else. And he went to their side, and because of that, they became much more powerful because of Obama.
So you have to remember something when it comes to the IRGC. I've been saying this forever, that you can't trust these guys. These guys are terrorists. They've been literally the #1 state sponsor of terrorism for 50 years, not only chanting death to America, the greatest country God and man has ever conceived, helping the likes of Osama bin Laden, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, the Houthis. The list goes on and on. 9/11 wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Iran. These guys are it's like a terrorist factory. The people themselves can't stand this regime. Nobody can stand this regime. Anybody in the region, nobody can stand this regime. I knew this would happen. I was, quite frankly, shocked when there was any even semblance of a deal that President Trump was even thinking about with these evil, seething maniacs. I was shocked. I want to leave you with this, which I thought was just so interesting. Here is President Trump talking about Spencer Pratt visiting him in the Oval Office and what he told him about L.A. Check this out.
If somebody's sick, if somebody's disabled, or if you go on vacation, you get a pass. We make it nice and easy.
But Mr. President, did you notice anything different?
They find millions and millions of ballots. It's impossible. Spencer Pratt came up to my office. He said he thought he won. I said, why didn't you complain? He didn't know who to complain to. But what they did to that guy was unbelievable. He's a nice guy. He worked so hard. And they found millions of ballots, And they took the election away from him. They almost did it to Steve Hilton. I complained. I got the U.S. attorneys involved and the FBI. And as soon as because he was, they were putting out reports. Steve Hilton is starting to fade. He's running, as you know, for governor of California. And they said, Steve Hilton. I said, here we go. They're going to find ballots. And they said he was starting to fade. He wasn't fading. He was the opposite. And I put the U.S. attorney involved. They said, well, no, in 2 weeks. Can you imagine? This is the week after the election. They're saying he's starting to fade. And then I got the U.S. attorney involved. And they didn't know in 2 weeks. They let it be known an hour later.
So, Mr. President, real quickly,
I don't know why this guy, this host, is interrupting the President of the United States. But anyway, wow. I don't even think I even realized that President Trump stepped in with Steve Hilton, who, by the way, both Steve Hilton, just for reminding and in case you're unfamiliar with what happened in California, both Steve Hilton and Spencer Pratt were way ahead of their opponents. Specifically, this socialist, aka communist, Nitya Raman, who's nobody's ever heard of, and the rest of the Democrat scum that was running against Steve Hilton, Javier Becerra, and others. And he's absolutely right. I mean, once the mail-in ballots came in, which is, again, why they don't want to pass the Save America Act, and maybe now, if you saw my video yesterday, President Trump's last phone call with Lindsey Graham, if you missed that video, go check it out. I talk about it had a lot to do with what we're talking about here, specifically the Save America Act. I can't wait to get your thoughts on all of this and so much more. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please tap that thumbs up if you love America. Help us spread our message of trying to make common sense go viral, trying to save our glorious republic. We have to do that. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here, just in case you missed them. Tap my face right here to subscribe and follow. It doesn't cost you a thing. And as always, may God bless you, and may God bless the USA and all who defend her. I'll see you soon.